What if I asked you to design a box? Sure, you could make something, but it's hard to make anything meaningful or useful because you don't know what the box needs to do. There aren't enough constraints. But if I was a little bit more specific and told you that it was a pizza box, suddenly the task is a bit easier. You know the shape of pizza, it's round, and you know enough about it to start to develop more nuanced concepts. If I told you that this pizza box needed to fit a 16-inch diameter pizza and the box must be made from compostable molded fiber, then it's even more clear. If this box needs to have several other pizzas stacked on top of it, I know to add in some structural ribbing to make the box stronger. So this is important because this shows you that the more specific you are with constraints, the easier it is to design. The shape that your designs take are dictated by what the designs need to do or how they should function. This is the crux of the phrase form follows function. This is a quote that was originally coined by architect Louis Sullivan in the late 1800s, and it still holds true today, and it will probably always hold true. The first thing that I do when I start a project is establish a design criteria. It forces you to be very specific about what a success will look like for a problem you're solving, and it takes a lot of subjectivity out of the design process. You can't just arbitrarily choose red for the product's color just because you like it. Every design decision should be made in service of a specific goal. And this is really, really important when you're sort of designing for form-following function. When you present a design without a clear goal to engineers, marketers, senior designers, or business people, this is what you sound like. Now, you can't really make a design criteria unless you understand the problem very intimately. And this sort of problem scoping is done through design research. So I won't get into the details of design research right now for this video. In the meantime, a really good book on design research is called Designing for Growth. I highly recommend it. Another thing that you can think about with form-following function is to have visual indicators. So properly using contrasting colors, materials, and shapes is a really good way to highlight function. For example, the equal sign on this brown calculator is a great example of that. Same thing with this messenger bag. These color changes highlight the most important or most used touch points on the object. The color change draws your eye in. And this is especially useful when you're working in high-stress environments. So in an airplane cockpit, mistakes can mean life or death. That's why many of the buttons in the cockpit are distinctly different shapes and colors. You don't want to mistake one button for another. Now, I've never flown a plane, but I'm willing to bet that the buttons with the red covers on them are probably only meant for an emergency. This is the power of visual indicators and form-following function. It tells you how to use the object just by looking at it. With form-following function, really the best thing that you can do is make it so that the user can't do something the wrong way. So remember old USB inputs? Well, the visual indicator for which orientation to insert it is never easy enough to identify, at least in my opinion and many other people's opinions. And they also require just a little bit too much force to insert. So sometimes you'd end up flipping it back and forth like 2 or 3 times before you get it right. Now, thankfully, USB-C can be inserted in both directions or orientations, so this is a problem of the past. And USB-C is a great example of form-following function by making a design foolproof. Another thing to think about with functionality is mapping. A great example of very confusing mapping are with stovetops. So I always have trouble figuring out which knob controls which burner, and a more practical control array would be one that's aligned with the stovetop burners. Now I can almost guarantee you that there are mechanical constraints here, but from a usability perspective, this makes way more sense. And this particular example is mentioned by Don Norman in The Design of Everyday Things, which is another book that I highly recommend. One of the biggest determining factors in the function, look, and feel of your design is the manufacturing method. So a chair that's injection molded versus one that's made from bent plywood all yield completely different visual and functional results. Sometimes simply switching up the manufacturing method is enough to make the functionality and aesthetic of the design completely novel and new. Each manufacturing method has different strengths and weaknesses, and this is usually the determining factor in whether a feature or design detail can be implemented. The last thing I want to talk about is form-following convention. So for example, every production-made drill I've ever seen has a trigger in the same place, except for one which was designed by Porsche. So this design has a trigger on top of the device. Now, it's totally possible that this is a superior design, but power drills have been around for over 100 years, and they've always had the trigger in the same spot. So changing that trigger location goes against 100 years of convention. And for this reason, radically new ideas are often not accepted. Customers are just used to the status quo, and even if the new idea is much better, people will be slow to adopt those new ideas. In addition to that, you may be going against legal regulations that are heavily entrenched. So I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that you should blindly follow convention. That I would never suggest that. All I'm saying is that you need to be aware of those conventions and figure out how to navigate any potential pushback from customers. What I'm basically talking about here is Raymond Loewy's mantra of most advanced yet acceptable. I'm thinking about making a video about this at some point. So I hope this video was helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. It really motivates me to continue on with the channel. And leave a like if you enjoyed the video. I'll link the books that I mentioned in the description. And thank you so much for checking this out, guys, and I hope you learned something.